Hey everyone, J7Jace here. In this video, I want to compare the three different Holy Knights in game, Agrias, Delita, and Wiegraf. Although if you really want to get technical, one of them, Wiegraf, is actually a White Knight, which is more or less the same for the most part. They obviously have a lot in common, but are they completely interchangeable, or does one stand out above the others in certain situations or areas? Even though they're all very similar, I'll be going over some differences about them from their stats, abilities, and much more. So let's check it out. To begin with, we can only actually control two of these three characters in game, although through other methods we can control Wiegraf. There is an old saying though, ladies first, so we will begin with Ivalice's next top model, everyone's favorite Final Fantasy Tactics character. For the sake of comparing though, we are just going to be using her Holy Knight stats, equipment options, and abilities, and we are also going to apply those same rules to Delita and Wiegraf. Her equipment options are similar to that of a typical knight, as well as being able to equip things like swords and knight swords, which all the knights need to have equipped in order to use these awesome sword skills. Again, like the regular knight, Agrias can equip shields, heavy armor, robes, and most accessories. And most importantly, she's a female, so that means she can equip insane things like ribbon, chantages, and arguably the best accessory in the game, Tainur Rouge. Just don't bother with bags, as they are just too random, expensive, and she can't use her Holy Sword abilities with these things equipped. With abilities and equipment options out of the way, let's take a look at the stats of Agrias. In my opinion, it's not that fantastic considering how low her physical attack is overall, and she has a base move stat of 3, but her HP is quite solid along with her evasion rate. Her MA will be higher than her male Holy Knight counterparts due to being female, so she can make a pretty strong mage too if you want. To increase her physical damage though, using support abilities like attack boost and vehemence can really amplify her damage, and once you get knight swords, increase her bravery all the way to 97 and you'll notice a very substantial damage increase. Let's not forget Tainur Rouge as well, which should be used on her as there's a whole scene and mini side quests focused on her. So taking a look at the big picture, just like female characters, she won't be as good earlier on due to the ladies having inferior physical attack, but as you progress through the game to unlock other various abilities and exclusive female items, this is where she will really start to shine, and some will argue they will be overpowered and even better than the guys. She won't be as mobile compared to other jobs, and she'll have weaker PA, but she is still a very solid character, and I'd argue one of the best in the late game due to her abilities and equipment options. She also has very high job class evasion rate, making her a wonderful candidate for reflexes. Lastly, this is going to be a hot take from me, but in my opinion, she's even better than Orlando in a few of the harder rendezvous missions, because she can equip ribbon, and that will nullify the most unpleasant negative status ailments. Now, with the top model out of the way, let's take a look at Delita's Holy Knight, which he uses in chapters 2, 3, and earlier parts of chapter 4. It has the same abilities for the most part, however he has Chant, and can heal an ally at the cost of his own health. It will restore an amount based on your max HP times 2 divided by 5, however it will damage you by half the amount healed to your target. It's a bit gimmicky to me and I suggest other healing methods for the most part, but it did save me in my Ramza solo challenge back in the day. Despite being a knight though, Delita's Holy Knight can't actually equip knight swords, which I found interesting as he comes with Save the Queen equipped in the second battle where you control him in War of the Lions. He can though equip regular swords, which is normal. However, Delita can also equip knives and flails, similar to how Ramza's Squire is. The last thing that varies is how he can equip clothes, meaning more variety, but the option to use the typical heavy armor and robes will always be there for use, if you prefer. His stats are very similar in terms of HP and MP to Agrias, although he does have more move, speed, and physical attack, but less class evasion being 10%, and of course less MA due to being a male. If Delita were to be a real playable character though, he would still easily be one of the best despite not being able to equip Night Swords. Holy Sword just has strong abilities, and we can take advantage of his mobility, speed, and clothing options. He would definitely be superior to Agrias in the early game, but inferior as he can't equip female items or Night Swords. Just like Ramza, he would only gain this ability when his sprite changes or when he becomes king, but I'll save that for another video. Last but not least is Wheatgraf's White Knight, or may I say White Knights, as he has two different versions. His Chapter 1 look when he was commander of the Corpse Brigade, and Chapter 3 Knight Templar with his McDonald's colored armor. I like both of these designs, but that cape just hits home with me, so we will be taking a look at that one first. Even though White Knight is similar to Holy Knight, it does have a different description, and he only has access to the first three abilities, Judgment Blade, Cleansing Strike, and Northswain Strike. His equipment is similar to the standard Knight, as well as being able to equip things like swords, Night Swords, heavy armor, robes, and most accessories. Wheatgraf's stats are similar to Delita in terms of evasion and power. Just keep in mind, he will be able to do a lot more damage since he can equip Night Swords. He just isn't as mobile or fast, and you could argue even less versatile as he doesn't have access to Hollowed Bolt or Lightning Stab in this sprite. He also has more MP than both Delita and Agrias, although I don't recommend using magic on him in more serious fights if he were playable. But I will say, he does look quite stylish here, and I could see him being a contender for Ivalice's next top model, Male Idols Edition. Moving on to Wheatgraf's second sprite, this one just seems like an overall vast upgrade in all areas, besides looks in my opinion, as he just seems to be wearing armor similar to the rest of the Knights Templar. But enough talk about looks, he can now use the Holy Knight's most versatile ability, Hollowed Bolt, on top of knowing the other three abilities, but he doesn't have access to Divine Ruination. His equipment options remain the same as his Chapter 1 sprite, but his stats have noticeable improvements, with him having more HP, speed, attack, and 2% more job class evasion. So compared to his first sprite, he would be hitting harder, better, faster, and even stronger. If we were to rank these four Holy Knights, I would put Ivalice's next top model in first place, as her female equipment gives her an edge in handling some tough fights, even though she is lacking in raw physical damage. In second place, I would have to give it to Knight Templar Wheatgraf. His stats are just so good, and Hollowed Bolt is more than enough in handling nearly all enemies. Third would have to be Delita. He is the most mobile of the Holy Knights, and he can equip clothing, but the lack of Night Swords definitely hurts his placing. And lastly, I would have to put Wheatgraf's Chapter 1 sprite in fourth place. I love the way it looks, but not having Hollowed Bolt puts him at a disadvantage compared to the other Holy Knights. While they are all very similar, there are some differences among the four of these knights, with some being better than others in certain situations. Let me know in the comments which Holy Knight, or may I say White Knight, is your favorite. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you all next time with more videos. Take care.